Hello, this is Jack Mill with Tri-County Inspection Company and the House Whisperer Show. I want to thank everybody for the feedback because I love the questions and it gives me topics to talk about. And so recently at hello@tricountyinspectors.com, I got the question about ground fault circuit interrupters. These are the receptacles that have the little test and reset buttons on them, and you find them around wet locations, primarily, as I would like to say in the old days, kitchens and bathrooms. But the electrical code has recently increased the number of GFCIs in a residential dwelling. Now keep in mind, as a home inspector, I am not a code inspector. And sometimes the codes, in my opinion, kind of don't make sense. So this is my pet peeve list that I'm going to go over with you today. So, and this is my question, well, why do they do this? So before I jump into that, the purpose of ground fault protection is to protect you from an electrical device and a water source. So that's why if you're washing your hands in the sink and you go over and touch the blender, you don't become the ground. The ground fault circuit interrupter will then turn that power off to that device so you don't get shocked. Same thing in a bathroom. If you're using the blow dryer or power tools, if it drops into the sink when you're changing your contacts, you won't get electrocuted. And jetted tubs as well. So all of these make sense, but today I'm starting to see ground fault protection on sump pumps. Now, during a heavy storm, when do you ever go down to your sump pit or pump to see if the pump is working? So GFCIs, again, are designed to fail in wet scenarios or with power surges. So when I see that, I discuss these options with my client. What you can do is, as long as the sump pump only has one plug, then you can install what we call a single pole outlet. In other words, a duplex has two areas that you can plug a device into, where a single pole is just one. Next one, water heaters. Today's high efficient gas or propane water heaters work with a blower. So it pushes the byproducts of combustion or carbon monoxide outside. Now, where do they put the receptacle? Well, they're putting it up in the joist space, usually out of reach. What's it connected to? A GFCI. So again, I tell my clients, if you wake up in the morning, you go to take a shower and there's no hot water, chances are the GFCI turned off, and GFCIs don't like surges, and that's the whole thing about it. So again, a single pole outlet. This is probably my favorite, macerator pumps. Now, if you have a bathroom in the basement, be it a powder room or full bathroom, you have to be able to eject that waste upwards and into the sanitary line. Now, the macerator pit and pump is generally out of sight. It's in a closet. It's on the other side of the bathroom wall. And so if that's on a GFCI and that trips, you only have about 42 gallons of waste that it holds, and if that pump does not work, it's going to come up, the waste is going to come up through your toilet, it's going to come up through your shower basin, rarely your sink because of its elevation off the floor. So this is another area where I encourage the single pole outlet, but almost in the same breath, I tell my clients to install a pump alarm. So God forbid, if something does happen to that pump, this onerous sound occurs to say, do not flush. Now, going back to the rules, if you have a duplex outlet and you're dedicating one to the pump and one to the pump alarm, then you don't need ground fault protection. So these are all things that, again, over the course of a home inspection, I like to educate my buyers for. Now, another good one, GFCIs on GFCIs. Now, I know that kind of sounds confusing, but sometimes everyone likes to put a GFCI in a bathroom where it's really not necessary. You'll typically have what we call a lead GFCI that controls the other receptacles on that circuit. But somebody remodels a bathroom, they put another GFCI in, so I'm in the powder room and I trip the ground fault. I can't reset it there. So that's telling me that somewhere else in that house is another GFCI. So it could be in the garage, it could be in the basement, it could be in one of the other bathrooms. So here I'm running laps in the house trying to figure out how to reset the lead GFCI. So I finally find it, I reset it, now I have to go back to that pad room and push the reset button again. I flag that. I flag it every time because it leads to confusion. New construction, let's talk about that again. Garage door openers on GFCI circuits. So once again, sometimes the GFCI is 10 to 11 feet off the garage slab. Now, how is a typical homeowner going to get to that to reset it? It's ludicrous, and especially in the ceiling. So fortunately, I've been seeing some builders relocate the GFCI to a reachable location on one of the 3 walls of the garage. So once again, I advise my clients, if it's raining out and you hit the clicker and the garage door opener is not working, then you're going to have to get out of the car, get into your front door, come around to the garage and reset the GFCI. Yesterday I was in a commercial facility and they have a lunchroom. They probably feed 40 to 50 people. And their freezer was on a GFCI circuit. Now, what would happen if that tripped? Look at all the food that you're spoiling. And at the same time, even on a residential properties where I ask my clients, is there going to be a freezer or refrigerator in the garage? And they say, yes, Jack, there will be. Well, then I tell them not to plug it into that dedicated outlet because it will fail. Now, a refrigerator or freezer anyway should be on its own circuit because you're dealing with a compressor, so usually 20 amps, where GFCIs are rated for 15. Boy, this list goes on, doesn't it? So here's another one, clothes washer. Now, as I mentioned earlier, GFCIs don't really like surges, so what does a clothes washer do? Generally draws 20 amps and has to turn that tumbler. So once again, I tell my folks, go a single pole outlet, because if you start your wash and you walk away for a while and say, well, it should be done, and you look in and the drum is still full of water, well, you know that the GFCI has tripped. So these are all things that, as a home inspector, indicating common sense, I think we have a way to make these appliances work and continue working. So if you like the content, please press the subscribe button below. And once again, any questions, anytime, reach out to me at hello@tricountyinspectors.com. See you next time.